Hey everybody, welcome to Banter, the sports podcast. It's episode 109. Welcome, Trent.
Oh, wait. Sorry, I like to show my Blue Devil stuff.
I like to
You know,
show our gear in the merch
uh,
store.
I,
Recency bias. Let's
yeah,
go.
yeah.
Got
Sounds like
some
your tar. Sounds like your Tar Heels. Everybody's saying we're back. We're back.
no, because they're still in the first four out bubble on most people's brackets. So
Yeah, as it should
not
be.
not sold. And honestly, at this point, I really think the only way they get it is if they beat Duke last game of the season. Win the rest of the games, beat Duke, and then I think you have the slightest potential.
You
And
you
I
might
and I
have
don't and I
to.
don't and I don't feel good about that. So
I was gonna say you might not only have to beat Duke, you might have to then also not maybe go to the championship, but you got to make a. If you
make
would
some
beat
noise.
Duke, I know we're going to get into college basketball, but if you would beat Duke and if Carolina would beat Duke and maybe say like a Clemson or a Louisville when they're like that could happen. That could help because you guys are 1-10 in quad one. So like that's
That's the
brutal.
hurt right now. And I know they're comparing them to like Arkansas. And I'm like, man, Arkansas sucks. But
Yeah, but we'll hold off.
all right.
Let's talk a little bit of headlines for the I guess, in it's America's sport, right? NFL football. So what would you like to discuss that? Any headlines
So
that caught your attention?
obviously combine stuff, draft stuff is all kind of coming to fruition here. Just the fact that there's a lot of question marks, I feel. Um, Specifically revolving around quarterback situations. A
Yeah.
lot of possible quarterbacks that are still out there. Aaron Rodgers is going to be out there. Then you got Kirk Cousins that's out there. You have the possibility of Justin Fields. You have the possibility of Russell Wilson. I've seen rumors floating around about Geno Smith. Did I say Kirk Cousins already?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a lot. Oh, and then the big one that's kind of been floating around a lot here is Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
So a lot of movement with quarterbacks, and I guess it all does kind of ride on what are some of these teams going to do in the draft. It's very interesting to see, oh, I think this guy's going to go here, and you get all the talking heads on X and the talking heads on the media and stuff, but it's very interesting to me to kind of see where teams are going to go. I mean, one in particular, I mean, I do feel just knowing, where he came from, I could truly see if there is Stafford movement. Okay, I could truly see Aaron Rodgers going to the Rams next season.
Hmm. So
Just being the LA, California kid kind of thing.
hmm.
Sail off into the sunset in LA, do
Well,
what you got to do.
you're
But
not you're not saying Super Bowl win, sail off to the
no,
sun.
no, 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 no,
Okay,
no,
okay.
no, no. I'm just saying finish
Yeah,
your career.
I
'Cause,
got you.
I mean, if the Rams are going to move on, I mean, they've already stated that they're moving on from Cup. And then there's the talk that they're moving on from Stafford, where I know that Stafford, I don't know, supposedly his wife wants to play in New York, which, whew, it's fun. Go from LA to New York. It's like, geez.
She does want him to play in New York.
Yeah, there's some connection with some sort of business thing.
I'll tell you what, I just when I look at the situation, um,
I'm talking Giants, not Jets.
I know, I got you. Um, when I look at the situation, I'm just kind of like, I, I mean, well, the one thing that caught my attention about the whole quarterback thing was Stafford wants 50 million.
I can't believe that.
Yeah,
I
50
I
million a
cannot
year.
believe that.
Um, I don't. I fear that there will be a team that does that will spend that caliber of money on him for 1 year. But I just don't know if it's worth it because in reality he is on the back half, right? Like he's definitely
Mhm.
on the back half, almost done. So
Right.
it's like, are you going to be a team that drafts a guy that you feel is absolutely close to being ready and you want to bridge
Right.
it, you want to do really, really good, or do you want to commit to say like a rebuild and be like mediocre,
Mm-hmm.
maybe get somebody for a much more affordable cost and just buy your time. Like I felt like there were definitely some teams that did. I mean, my team in particular, totally like, oh, let's, we missed out on Big Penix Energy. I'm almost convinced that's who we were supposed to take. If he was available, we were going to take him.
Yeah.
I think it's actually going to end up being a blessing long term because we have Brock Bowers. But
Yeah.
Raiders, they used Minshew as a bridge, and it was a terrible bridge. It's like a freaking falling apart planked bridge with, going to fall into a goddamn valley of death.
It was the
But
London Bridge falling down.
there you go. That too. But I don't know. Like like I'd be cool with it. Raiders, like I'm like at a point where like I'm so numb to Raiders stuff that I'm just like, yeah, sure. Like, yeah, sure. Hire Pete Carroll. I hate Pete Carroll, but I love Pete Carroll now. Like, fuck it.
Right.
Oops.
Right.
Screw it. Yeah. It's like I don't care. But I don't know. That's too spicy. Aaron Rodgers, I hear what you're saying about California. I'm still seeing Tennessee.
And what's funny you say that is that's the one I have not seen personally.
I saw that they were highly interested. Now, once again, who's the true source? Highly interested in bringing him in as a bridge, but I don't know. I worry. I just think there's so much talk with drafting these guys and uncertainty of where they're going to go, because I don't think any of them truly spark. And once again, I was way wrong on CJ Stroud. So I could be way wrong, and I hope I'm wrong because I think the Raiders are going to take one of these guys. But I just think teams are a little uncertain on the guys coming out, and no one is 100% sold.
You mean you're talking quarterback? You're talking quarterback wise.
Yes. Like
So here's the thing, though, unless there's some sort of splash, right? Because here's Aaron Rodgers on the Jets with Garrett Wilson. They bring in Devontae Adams. They at one point their defense was pretty elite, and they just shit the bed. So now if he goes to Tennessee, I mean, Tennessee doesn't have weapons. So unless what are you going to do? Are you going to bring Devontae in there, or maybe you're going to bring Cooper Kupp in? Like, they need to make a splash. They can't just, if that does happen, they have to bring in a weapon or two. If Tennessee brings in Aaron Rodgers, then you know who they have to take number 1 overall.
Well, they're second pick, correct? Or they won? They're first overall.
They're number 1.
Oh wow!
They need to take edge rusher out of Penn State.
Oh, I was expecting you to give me some sort of offensive weapon there.
Nope. You need Javon Curse 2.0 in Tennessee.
Abdul Carter. Okay.
Yep. You need to. And I've seen that name floated around as the number 1 overall. It's interesting. I believe he's hurt, so he's not really working out at the combine. There's a couple other guys. No, I know, but there's a couple other people that aren't working out at the combine. But I mean, that's a splash pick. I mean, in my opinion, if you're not going to go quarterback overall, I think he is top dog.
That's a player available, yeah,
hands down. So, and edge guys are the quarterbacks of the defense in terms of your star players. All
right. So can we use that as a transition so we don't do too much draft?
For sure.
So Myles Garrett, right? Browns are pretty firm. They don't want to trade him. But now I thought this was a very interesting headline because I also think teams do this with the draft where they spread like rumors to say like right now the rumor is Raiders are trading up to number 1 to draft Cam Ward.
Yeah.
And I almost think they're hoping I think they have some sort of information where there's teams that really like him and they want them to overreach, right? To take him. To like
saying they want the Browns.
Like, no, I'm just using that strategy. So where teams I think will put stuff out there just to kind of like, oh man, like let's say we're interested. So another team doesn't take the guy that we're actually interested, or maybe it's an in-division team and you want them to like overpay. And from what we're seeing now is that's what's happening with Myles Garrett, Commanders, and now the team that's in the mix, the Eagles.
I know.
Which
I saw it.
Like, what the hell? Okay. Don't know if a defensive line can get any better. He wants to go to a contender, so there's your contender. He does. Myles Garrett is who I'm referring to. Said he would love to play with Jaden Daniels. So it's like now you have a little bit of an interdivision, I guess, I don't know, like sweepstakes for
Yeah.
Myles Garrett potentially. I mean, it's brilliant by the Eagles to like say, I don't want this guy in our division. Like, that's terrible. That's worst case scenario there.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I kind of hope I would hope he would go to the Commanders over the Eagles. Um, I guess just because like the rich keep getting richer.
Yeah.
And I will give credit to the Eagles, is a lot of their defensive line talent is homegrown. Uh,
Yeah.
so I don't know. It is a very
So,
interesting market for Myles Garrett because he's a one-man man.
I mean, I could definitely see. I don't know if there obviously is still a connection. I mean, obviously with Vrabes no longer in the Browns organization. Remember, I think he was like a defensive somehow, but not behind the scenes thing. But uh, the reason I bring up Vrabel is just because I could see the Eagles moving on from Brown, AJ Brown, wide receiver. So if that's what the Eagles are thinking, then do the Browns go get a quarterback and then you got a stud wide receiver like AJ Brown? I don't know. I mean, I could see that happening. I think that, obviously Myles Garrett's going to be a little bit more expensive than just, Myles Garrett for AJ Brown. I mean, it might be AJ Brown and like a number 1 and number 4 or something. I don't know.
So you're thinking 3-team trade there.
No. Sorry. The only reason I brought up Vrabel is just because he was with the Browns, and I don't know if there's somebody else with the Browns organization that's connected to Vrabes that liked AJ Brown. But
I'm like
no,
trying to follow your
no. What I'm saying is AJ Brown to the Browns, all right, Myles Garrett to the Eagles.
Oh,
but the Browns have to make a spot. Deshaun Watson is not the guy anymore. You have to figure that situation out.
Kirk Cousins. There's connections at Kirk. So the
Whether you
GM, the GM who brought Kirk to the Vikings now works with the Browns, and they want to get Kirk Cousins if they can, when they can.
What's to say though? Eagles don't deal Brown and say they're number 1 this year. Okay, and then the Browns now have what, the 2nd pick, I believe. And
now Patriots have 2nd.
Maybe they're in the top 5. But then say, I don't know, who the hell knows? Let's say the Browns have end of the 1st round pick for the Eagles number 1. How far is Jackson Dart drop? I mean, I know he's electric in terms of what people are talking about drafting, but
yeah, that's another day for the draft. We'll save that during the dog days of end of college basketball, ready for draft day.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, just from our discussion right now, there's a lot of moving parts, a lot to be seen. What's going to happen? I don't know what's going to happen with Myles Garrett. I think the Browns are going to. They should, as they're doing what they should do, is they should be playing hardball with Myles Garrett. Meaning, now don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like don't let him go somewhere, right. But I hope they do, just for their organizational sake, because they suck, especially with that Deshaun Watson thing. Play hardball and get an absolute overhaul.
They have to, and honestly, a lot of it has. I mean, they almost have to figure out a way to get rid of Deshaun Watson.
Nobody will take that. Hell
no. I know they won't. But, I don't know what the hell that happens with that. But yeah, I don't know. Anything else NFL wise? And don't want to spend too much time, but I know there's a lot of rumblings.
I have one quick question for you, because there was a really interesting graphic that was put out there about pro teams with 0 championships. And since we're on the topic of NFL, which of these teams next year has the best chance to win the Super Bowl? Real quick.
These are all teams that have 0 Super Bowls.
0 Super Bowls. Cardinals, Vikings,
Okay.
Falcons, Bills, Chargers, Bengals, Texans, Panthers, Lions, Browns, Titans, Jaguars.
I mean, two off the top of my head, just initially. I mean, initially I was going to say Vikings, but
First to win a
again,
Super Bowl.
no, I said initially until
Okay.
I heard the other teams. But how can you not go Bills?
Yeah.
How do you
I,
How do you not? I
I,
I don't know. I know their window's closing though.
yeah. My pick is the Bengals. I think the Bengals win one before the Bills do.
Really, I just feel like there's so much damn turmoil around them.
They
There's
released
so
a
much.
statement. They're gonna make Jamar Chase the highest paid non-quarterback in the history of the NFL.
I think that's a little silly.
I don't.
But
Dude did a triple crown in receiving. Like, you got to keep that guy there. He's got
they
a connection with him, and
they
do
can't
it.
protect their quarterback.
Well, then that's what you draft this year because you've got a pretty good draft pick. So they better draft offensive
Yeah,
lineman.
yeah, I guess so, man. Who knows? I realized I forgot to put our banner up. There you go.
And if you're willing, trade Higgins. Trade Higgins and
And
get and go
yeah,
up further.
they said
Go
they
up
were going to
further and
tag.
get
They
it.
were going to tag him.
Yeah, but you can still tag him and trade him, can't you? I'm pretty sure you could. Just means he
Probably.
plays that the rest of the season on the tag, and you got to hope that he's willing to sign an extension or find a team that would be willing to sign him to a deal, and boom, problem solved. So,
Yeah. Who knows?
all right. So you
All
say
right.
Bills, I say Bengals. Trey. Oh, okay, never mind. I don't know if you can hear us or we can't hear him, but all right.
All right. Let's switch gears here into college basketball.
The madness.
And madness is sure as hell right. Whew.
It
I will say this.
is.
I do feel a little bit better gambling wise. I know last night wasn't necessarily my best look with Minnesota. God, that just pissed me off. I thought I had a steal.
Yeah.
And especially at home, and Minnesota's been like late bloomers in games, and they find a way to win. You lose to freaking Northwestern last night. Like, get out of here, man.
Northwestern's tough to figure out. Like,
I
they're
know.
definitely tough. They're like they've got two sneaky good guys on their team, but I thought the one was hurt.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a tough one.
In all honesty, and it was, I know it was one of our Moneyline Go VIP picks, number 2. That's what I should have made my pick, was Missouri. Because I think even Fast Breaks or Steve, said on tweeted it out or whatever yesterday, something about like Missouri's a different team at home. And I'll tell you what, them putting it on South Carolina the way that they are, the way
Yeah.
that they did. I mean, man, Gates is the man, dude. And I really, really am enjoying watching Missouri play right now because
Yeah.
they're putting up boatloads of points. I mean, they scored 110 points the other night against Alabama.
Yeah.
And I know we're recording Tuesday night here, but they're about to clips 100 again against
Yeah.
South Carolina. Like, look out, man, because if that
Well,
team and that's what he did with Cleveland State. Remember, they would just score. Like that
yeah.
team just is built for offense. So I
This
really
is
like what Gates is doing.
this is also what drives me nuts though, is you have Texas who, according to the experts, I say that very lightly,
Yeah.
Texas tournament team, they're in. You lose to a winless South Carolina,
Yeah.
right? Right. I go out of my way to make Texas a goddamn money line pick or a recipe pick, and they just diarrhea all over themselves, like horns all the way freaking down. Like, screw
Yeah.
you, Texas. You lose to a team
Yeah.
like that, you should
Yeah.
be completely out. Get out of there. You're a fraud. Just because you're in the SEC, you do not deserve to be in the tournament. I'm sorry, but I'm so sick of it. But yeah, hats off to Missouri. I will put this out there about Missouri's head coach that you love so much, Ty Gates. A
Yeah.
lot of connections to Florida State. It's a guy that he started his career under. The Florida State's head coach stepping down at the end of the year. His name is right now in the rumor mill to potentially go take over that program. Just putting it out there. Yeah.
Gosh, man, that would hurt. That would hurt a lot because obviously not liking Florida State being ACC guys,
Yeah,
but like, would you though? Like, you're building something pretty damn sweet there in the SEC,
I
like which
I
is like the basketball, conference
now
now according to everybody. But like,
um, grass isn't
Would you
always
leave?
grass isn't always greener.
I mean, I know you
Like,
can pretty much just take your entire team and go to a different school now,
yeah,
but
I just say this is it's kind of like with like assistants that go take head coaching jobs. It's like just because, yeah, like okay, it's cool for a week or two because you're getting all the media attention around the campus, around the school, around the organization, but not all head coaching jobs are equal. Meaning
yeah,
you could go into a really, really crappy situation and then really just kind of crap away your chances of ever being like a legitimate head coach, in my opinion.
well, and that's the thing. Like, I feel like he's building a program. I mean, Missouri's ranked 14th right now. And a couple years ago they were also ranked. I know they had a pretty down season last
Uh,
year.
last year, winless in the SEC.
No, I know, but I'm
So
saying like doing something right now this year.
yeah.
But like, I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Well, I would just like to put this out there. I do believe these past couple weeks have really exposed teams that are highly ranked, but I think they're frauds.
Yeah.
I really do. I think you're going to get the same old with ready. First team that's going to come to my mind is Alabama.
Yep.
I think you're going to get same old with them. I think you're going to get same old with Tennessee come tournament time.
Mm-hmm.
I talked about it. I think last week they struggle to score.
Mm-hmm.
They just struggle to put points up, and if you can't score during March, you're screwed. Um, I will also say
Iowa State.
Iowa State, same old, same old. Look great at point in time. I think they were number one this year at one point. Were they or number two? They definitely were way
Yeah,
up there.
they might have
They
touched
were
it
two or
once.
three, two or three. Nope, frauds, complete frauds. So I mean, I could go on probably if I had the list of teams in front of me, but Texas, absolute fraud. They weren't even considered. Sorry, Steve, but yeah, I just
Okay, so tell me this though. I know Florida lost last night. Like, what's your
fraud.
thoughts on them? I mean, you think Florida's a fraud?
I think Florida plays good games, but I look at like what
'Cause I
just
mean,
happened to them at Georgia. Like I
they were down
don't,
by 20. They were down by 26 and almost won.
yeah, because they're playing Georgia. Like Georgia is 6-10 in their conference, and I don't care. I don't care that it's the SEC. When you are that many games below 500 in your conference,
Mm-hmm.
that's a problem.
Yeah.
That to me is a problem. I know these conferences got much bigger and crazier, but I'm sorry. I don't get me wrong. I think Florida's good. I think they're going to be at least a 2 seed. Losing tonight drops them to a 2 seed, according to Lenardi, but and that's not good news for Duke potentially, because if they're the top 2 seed, they're going to get in the region that they want. So therefore, they're going to be in Duke's region in the East.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think a lot of those teams' true colors have shown. Like
Oh,
just the
I know another one. Texas A&M,
yeah, fraud,
undercover
total
buzz.
fraud, total fraud, total fraud. Mississippi State frauds, Ole Miss
Yeah.
frauds. So like, there's a lot of SEC teams. Like once again, I think it's going to be great come March because I'm just telling you right now. I think you could see it. A lot of people panicking about the SEC teams getting knocked out first weekend. So
So
um, I,
here's
I
my other question too.
I just want to say three legits. I believe there's three legit teams that are the absolute best in the
Basketball.
Wisconsin frauds.
Yeah.
So I believe Auburn, they're real. I haven't seen Auburn get blown out. Now they got beat at home by Florida, but they didn't get absolutely massacred if I'm recalling right.
Right.
They got beat by Duke, but they came to Cameron, coming to Cameron Indoor Stadium for that caliber of game. That's a tough environment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. and they battled. They actually went up huge early on. Um, I do believe after what Duke did to Illinois, who was a quad one win, and I know the record looks pretty rough right now, but to beat a team of that caliber by what 43 points in a neutral site like Madison Square Garden, I think Duke is a legit contender. The other team that I believe is going to be there is Houston.
You think so?
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
I'll be honest with you. The Texas Tech Houston game 2 nights ago was very interesting to me because there was a lot of times where I thought, I'm like, oh, Texas Tech's gonna pull this one off. Texas Tech's gonna pull this one off. But okay, here's another. Is that another team you think's a fraud? Is Texas Tech?
Yep. They're once again. I believe. I mean, look at the Big 12 this year. I mean, yes,
Yeah.
Houston's good, but I think Iowa State is. Yeah. Once again, I already called them a fraud. And I know I'm calling lots of teams frauds right now, but that's just when I say fraud, I'm not saying that they're not a good team.
Yeah.
I
No, I know.
just
Yeah.
you can't when it comes bracket time. I'm warning you. I think there's certain teams where I look at right now and say, "Oh shit, like this could be bad. Like it could."
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. Like I could be, laughing at my own self here with Duke, but I just think Duke. They've lost to Kansas, who's horrible right now, but
Right.
it's again one comes down to one possession, slippy floor again got us.
Yeah.
And then you also in that game had two significant injuries with players, Malawash and Sion James.
Right.
Losing to Kentucky. Kentucky to me is once again hard to figure out because they're injured. They're really unhealthy. Which, by the way, Duke's injury tonight, that could be really bad depending on how bad that turns out.
Yeah.
Tyrese Proctor went down.
Last
Last night. But Ferret was going there. But I even look at like the loss to Clemson. It's like, oh yeah, okay, well, Duke lost to Clemson. Yes, at Clemson. But
right.
like if you compare that to like Florida losing to Georgia,
Yeah.
Clemson's a better team than Georgia is.
Okay.
Sorry,
So
they are.
so I'm looking at, I have a couple of the different top 10, top 25 teams up just to kind of pick your brain on fraud here. But like, all right, what about Rick Pitino's St. John's team?
I think they're legit.
So, and you know what's, and I think the same thing because I'll tell you what, I know they had a pretty bad loss to Villanova, I believe back on the 12th, but they just, they look different. And what I mean by that is I just feel like, there's always like this, that like a tier of basketball players where it's like, okay, these guys, they're good athletes. They can all play. They're good.
Yeah.
They just look like they're on a different level of like, listen, almost like I'd compare it to like Houston in a sense, where like Houston comes out with like an attitude. You know what I mean? And they're like, hey, guess what? We're going to beat the shit out of you. You're going to have to figure out how to score more points than us because we're going to put up a boatload. And I feel like that's how St. John's plays a lot of times. Again, they've had a couple slip ups throughout the season, but like St. John's, man, depending on what their matchup looks like when they get to the tournament.
Only 4 losses.
That's what I'm saying. Like, then they're ranked 7 right now in the entire country. So I'm having I'm enjoying watching Missouri. I've been enjoying watching St. John's. I got to find some teams to enjoy to watch just because watching my Tar Heels sometimes makes me want to claw my eyes out. Lately we've been all right, but yeah, I don't know, man. I know you spoke about Louisville too. I feel like Louisville's a team that I don't trust.
No, they're somewhat of just like a it's good to see them respectable again.
Yeah.
Like they're good. They got some athletes on their team with Hepburn and the main guy from JMU last year. Because remember, Duke had to play JMU in the Sweet 16.
Yep, I do remember that. Marquette, I think, frauds, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a shock. It's Shaka Smart.
Yeah, no, I know.
Shaka first day Smart.
So here's another one that I just want to bring up basically because of the game tonight at 6:30. Big matchup. You got Michigan State at Maryland. So it's in College Park. And again, we talk about these lines all the time with gambling and stuff. Maryland ranked 16th is minus 3.5 favorites against the number 8 seed Michigan State.
And they're at home, right?
Maryland's at home, yes. I had this conversation today with some people. I just have a lot of trouble picking against a Tom Izzo team, especially with a Maryland team that hasn't been in the top 25 for what feels like since Gary.
Steve Blake.
Oh. Well, I'm talking about the coach, Gary Sweat.
Yeah.
But like, you know what I'm saying? Like I have a lot of trouble picking Maryland to beat, even as favorites, to beat a Michigan State, regardless if it's at home or not. So I mean, that's obviously the big one tonight, big matchup there at 6:30. So because that's another team. I feel like Michigan State, kind of like on a St. John's level of things, where I do feel like they're legit, and that goes back to coaching though too. Is who do you trust that's done it before? You know what I mean?
Not many of them. Not many of them anymore.
No, I know. Oh,
not many of those caliber coaches.
Look at 80. What was it? 80 straight polls or something like that, and Kansas is not ranked for the first time.
Yeah,
preseason number 1, right?
It was like almost 1,800 days straight that they've been ranked. Nuts. Like, actually, hold on. I have the statistics on. Oh no, that was longest. So now with them, they had an 80-week run.
Okay.
So now the longest active streaks are Houston with 102. This is being ranked top 25. Tennessee was 76, Purdue 55, Marquette 48, and then Duke with 40. So kind of interesting. But yeah, you're right. Who was the last team we just talked about there? You were just bringing up
Michigan State.
I see that's a team like Michigan State's a team that I actually, when you look at their team, I don't know. I do believe that they're going to be a tough outcome March.
Absolutely. That's what I'm saying. That's a team you trust.
I'm not going to put it all on Tom Izzo because I think Tom Izzo, yes, very consistent with Michigan State, but I would say within the past 10 years, I would say very consistently mediocre. So they haven't been like, oh my God, like Michigan. I mean, I don't even think they were ranked preseason this year. I don't believe so. But then again, that's not always a bad thing for teams because when you look at the pre-rankings this season, I mean, you had Kansas is the number 1, not ranked. UConn number 3, not ranked. Gonzaga number 6, preseason, not ranked. Baylor number 8, not ranked. And Carolina number 9, not ranked. So, but I do look at Michigan State as a team now where it's like, I think they have a good core of returners. Yeah. And man, Jason Richardson's son, he is legit. And once he starts heating up, he goes on just straight burners, man. Like it's like he goes off. So, before we get into some picks, I just want to bring this idea up that has now been proposed by 2. I would say if they're not already in, they're probably going to be in soon. But I think both of them are in. Hall of Fame basketball coaches.
Okay.
A lot of criticism around the ACC, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Like how bad it is. Maybe only 3 teams this year, potentially.
Mm-hmm.
Another conference that is always in the bubble anymore, being considered to be a power conference. Big East ACC, combine them. Coach K and Rick Pitino have now both stated that's what they would love to see.
God, I mean, if that's what you're going to do, I think it only helps, especially considering that, the Big Ten and the SEC pretty much just gobbled everybody up, for the Pac-12 and everywhere else. It's like, so then you put St. John's, Creighton, Marquette, UConn, Xavier, Villanova, Georgetown, Butler, Providence, Seton Hall, and DePaul, all in the ACC.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like it, especially, it's when you look at some of the top heavier teams in the Big East, at least now with St. John's, Creighton, Marquette, UConn, Xavier, Might even throw Villanova up there, just from competition
Yeah,
standpoint.
yeah.
But where did we say? Oh shoot, who the
Just
heck?
but
Oh, good.
think about. I'm sorry. Think about how cool that would be to bring back the old like Big East rivalries because you have now Syracuse again.
Mhm. Yeah.
Syracuse was a former Big East team, so it's like
Hmm.
seeing them come back into the Big East. I just think of that. Who was it? Syracuse, UConn. Was it 7 overtimes in
Oh,
the Big East tournament that one year? I think I was a junior, senior in high school. Stayed up for all seven. Got like 3 hours of sleep for school. Totally worth it. Totally worth it. But I don't know. I just I heard that proposal and I was like, yes. But now that's a huge conference.
yeah.
Like that'd
I
be
mean,
that'd be almost way too many teams, I believe.
so
So
so yeah, but then okay, so then let's take it a step further. Now I know we talked about Gonzaga going to Mountain West next year, right? But Mountain West is another like I'd say on the smaller side. Then join the Mountain West in the Big 12.
yeah. Or is this where we could finally see some like relegation type stuff? Like
Possibly.
if like
I
okay,
mean,
let's figure out, do we want to collapse the ACC and move everybody to the Big East, or do you want to collapse the Big East like in terms of like and move like the top dogs to the ACC, the bottom of the ACC to the Big East, and say like top three teams in the Big East, they'll move up at the end of the year. Bottom three teams in the other conference, they go down. You're still in a conference, so you can still win an automatic bid. Maybe you do some crossover between those games. Like I thought what Duke did that last Saturday of playing a big time opponent out of conference at a neutral site at this point in the year. Why do we
mhm,
not see that more often? Like, I know they do all these non conference big games in November, but
mhm,
it's like, I'm sorry, but everyone is, I am, I'm paying attention to college
mhm.
basketball at that point because my Raiders are always so bad at that point in the NFL season. But like, why not figure out how you can get some more of those types of games this late? But that's
Question for it,
my thought.
and I might be missing something. Wasn't there wasn't there like an AAC conference, like the American Athletic Conference, at one point in time in basketball?
I think it's still there, isn't
Wow, there's American East, which is like
it?
Bryant, Vermont, and all those. But like besides that, because I felt like at one point the Big East and that AAC, like the teams were like leaving and coming and going and stuff. So I felt like wasn't there at one point where the Big East, again, maybe I'm completely wrong. Did the Big East like not exist? And then did they
um,
come back as the Big East?
I think they did get. I think you're right. What happened to the?
So
What was it? The
It was the American Athletic Conference. It was the AAC. Because I feel like even teams like I think Louisville might have been in there at one point. I don't know. I could be completely wrong.
I'm
But
pretty sure. Well, Louisville was a Big East was a Big East team.
hold on, there is still an American Athletic Conference in football.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't. This is sad that I should know this. I feel like, but um, I do believe Ty there was like dissolving of the Big East to where it was like very few teams, if anything. Like I want to say like UConn stayed in it with basketball no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But
Hold
I
on.
don't think there is a Big East football conference, is there?
No, maybe that's what I'm talking about. So hold on. There's still an American East, American Athletic Conference in basketball. It's
Yeah.
Memphis, North Texas, UAB, Tulane. Why am I not getting it? Tulane, Florida Athletic, East Carolina, Wichita State, Temple, South Florida, Tulsa, Rice, UTSA, and Charlotte. So there is
Huh.
still an American Athletic Conference. But I felt like there was more teams in there at one point in time. Like there was some big teams. But why the
Yeah.
hell isn't it showing up in my thing? Whatever.
But anyway, I just think that would be great, absolutely great for college basketball. Join those two conferences. Um, just some of the you keep still some of the current rivalries, but then you're also gonna like create new ones with Duke, UConn. I don't know.
That's why.
I would love it. And then imagine that conference tournament in Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
Like if you get Duke, Carolina, those caliber, UConn, St. John's, Syracuse, and you get if once McNamara takes over Syracuse next year, then it'll be awesome. But just I thought it was an interesting little tidbit that's being put out there right now.
Hey, yeah. One other thing I just want to briefly touch on here before we get into picks is I know, like I said, I was watching the Carolina game the other night, and they talk about tournament comparison in terms of like what weighs more, and I know that there's a big emphasis on the quad one win games, and I don't know. I forget what analyst said it, but he's like, at some point, do you take into like account, do you take into account more weight on the quad one wins, or do you take into account more along in your conference wins? And I only bring that up again. I'm not saying Carolina's good this year. I mean, they're 18-11 overall, but they are 11-6 in the ACC. And I know that the ACC, it's down here. All right. Yeah. But then I look at teams at like literally the bottom in the SEC. Okay. Arkansas 16-11, but they're 5-9 in SEC play. Vanderbilt, another team that they constantly pump up all the time, who's actually ahead of Arkansas, 6-8 in conference, 18-9 overall. Texas, 16-11, 5-9 overall. Georgia, 17-11, 5-10 overall. So, like, I struggle with the fact of you're going to sit there and tell me that Vanderbilt, Arkansas, Texas, and Georgia, and then haven't they? Correct me if I'm wrong. They floated Oklahoma around, haven't they?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, 17-10 overall, 4-10 in SEC play. So you're going to sit there and tell me that those 5 teams right there deserve to be in the tournament over Carolina, who, yes, I know they're 1-10 against quad one teams. But again, it doesn't it go into account of like how many quad one teams are you playing, number one? And I would take into account your conference. If you're 11-6 versus 4-10, like, come on. Like, what are we doing? So I don't know.
I'm like, it's got to be a combination of both. I mean, it just has to be like, it's part of the resume, right? It's part of the tournament resume. Are you taking care of business in your conference? Are you taking care of business, against other top caliber teams? Mm-hmm. It's also like the importance of scheduling, the way that a lot of these top teams are scheduling. I mean, look at Carolina's schedule. Look at Duke's schedule. Look at Auburn's schedule. Look at, so if your conference might not be great, you better schedule good non-conference teams so you get some respect. Right. Like everybody is talking about how Duke doesn't play any top teams. Like that's everybody right now. They think they're frauds because they're playing the ACC. Well, okay, let's see what happens. But I hear that argument. I get it. I get it. It's fair. But with how they're also handling a lot of their competition, that's 8 wins in the ACC by 25 or more points for them tonight. Like
for sure. Yesterday. I mean,
so it's like that. Those are, you lost to Clemson. You dropped one on the road on a Saturday night against now the number 13 ranked team in the country. So I don't know. I hear what you're saying. I look at all the teams that you just named in the SEC conference, and no, I don't think they're tournament teams because they didn't take care of business within their conference. And did they maybe win some games elsewhere? Yeah, maybe. But
they just really, the team is really pissing me off. I think it's because I can't stand him as a head coach. They just want Calipari to be in there so bad.
Yeah.
That's really like the one that like really is a thorn in my ass of like a team. Is that a phrase? Thorn in my side.
That's a thorn in my ass. That's painful, man.
That like I just man, I hate it. I don't know. I know they're going to get in. I mean, I think, like I said, I think Carolina right now is the first 4 out team, according to most of the experts.
Yeah, Joe Lozardi, but
yeah.
Hey,
All right. So I think it's time. We do have a board that if anybody's
Let's do
watching
it.
here, you want to follow along here, March 1st, Saturday board, you can follow along the bottom. So it's time for
Bearded Best Bets.
Okay. So we're going to get into this, obviously, because it is Happy Hump Day on Wednesday. Don't have spreads yet. When we do put a board out this Saturday, we will be putting out the spreads. But right now, what we're going to do is we're going to look at just picking straight up money line. And if there's any other input and stuff that you'd like to include with it too, Trent,
Yeah,
hey, man, it's Saturday. Shit. Dude, Saturday's March 1st.
I
Look at
know.
that.
March is
Wow.
here.
It's crazy.
Makes me nervous.
Makes me nervous. All right. So
Does.
the first game that we're going to look at here is a 12 o'clock game. We got the Tar Heels in a must-win game, as all games are now for North Carolina. You have North Carolina against Miami. It's taking place in Chapel Hill. Miami struggles. I think North Carolina, again, I'm afraid to even say, oh, they're coming into their own. It's almost too little too late. I'm obviously money line here. Who wins this game? I'm saying Tar Heels do. So I
Yeah.
think Tar Heels win by 11.
Only 11.
Trent, I don't trust them.
Wow. I would say North Carolina by 18 or more points. Like that's how bad. That is how bad Miami is. They're 6-21, 2-8 in their last 10. Carolina 4-game win streak. They're at home again. Good tune-up game to get things right. You got Virginia Tech next, and then you got Duke, right, for the granddaddy of them all. I know they're not the Masters, but
yeah, I mean,
but yeah. So I got Carolina easily, no sweat.
yeah, they are 11-2, so at home. So yeah, should be all right. We shall see. I get nervous, man, because you look at now that we're getting into it. There's always those games where you can overlook it. Like you said, I think with Virginia Tech's next. Gosh, man, they cannot overlook them just to we're gonna play Duke. Is that last? I forget. Is the Duke game at
Last game
no,
at Carolina?
It's at Carolina.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry. Yep.
So there's some hope.
Yeah.
But we'll see. All right. Next game, what?
Catching my yawn. Sorry.
Yeah.
Next
All right.
game.
Next
It's a good
game
one.
next we got at 1:00, we got number 1 Auburn versus number 17 Kentucky. That is taking place in Kentucky.
Yeah. So
you think it's gonna be a good game?
Well, I mean, yeah, like this is like one of those things where we talk about Kentucky, they're missing Lamont Butler, Jackson Robinson, banged up. If those two guys are back, I think it's winnable for Kentucky at Kentucky, Big Blue Nation, like huge atmosphere, right?
Sure.
And I at least am going to say like Kentucky's got to be, unless the books know, which they probably will. I mean, I would imagine that Kentucky has to be like what 6.5, 7.5 point underdogs.
At least, man, it might be 8.5.
You would think so. It's like when it comes to spread, oh yeah, got to look at Kentucky's line, but how can you pick against Auburn right now? Like I just can't. I just think they're almost average age wise older than the entire Oklahoma City Thunder, kind of like Carolina last year, right? So they average 23.4 years of age as their players.
Yeah.
So I got Auburn.
I'm going to go Auburn to win this as well. Can I tell you just my thought on Auburn? And again, I'm actually might be making my jinx like I did for NFL teams this year, where I was like, oh, they're just terrible. They're just terrible. And then they just keep winning and they're good.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah. I may be doing that with Auburn this year, but the way that Auburn has played so solidly all season, that's one of those teams that I could see like, hey, we've done so well, and all of a sudden we're just kind of whoops, we missed. I could see them being like a Sweet 16 exit this year.
Wow. Yeah.
Then Bruce Pearl comes to Carolina, even though I know there's this Hubert Davis extension thing that they're talking about. But
That was in the summer.
yeah, I know.
Like,
Yeah,
why is everybody giving? Why is there? Jeff
I don't
Fisher
know.
got a 5-year extension and got canned like the next day.
I know.
Coaches can still get fired.
I know. All right. Next, we got a 2:00 game here. We got the Texas Tech Red Raiders against the Kansas Jayhawks. It's in Kansas.
At Kansas makes me want to say, like, will the books actually make Kansas an underdog at home? No.
Hell no. There would be 2.5 favorites.
Yeah. So once again, how, why? It's going to be a trap. I think what's crazy is we can already start to sense where the traps are at. The traps are laid, and you know what? I keep goddamn falling into them. But I'm going Kansas. Kansas wins this.
Yeah, I hate to say it because I love picking Texas Tech in basketball and football. I think that Kansas is just gonna. I think they're just gonna play pissed for the next couple weeks. Like, hey, we've dropped quite a few more than we should, and I think they're just gonna play pissed. And I think that showed the other night. I think Kansas wins this game too, probably by double digits. To be perfectly honest with you.
Ooh, wow.
So,
all right.
4:00 game here. We got Alabama at Tennessee. Talk about two teams I just don't trust right now. Alabama dropping several. I know they won their last two, and then Tennessee, like you said, just can't score usually. Pick your poison, man.
So can I just talk about polar opposites here with these two teams?
Yeah,
you got points per game for Bama. They are first in the entire country, 90.8. Right? Tennessee is 158th with 74.7. But then you look at defensive side of things. Defensive rating, Tennessee is 8th in the entire country, whereas Bama is 190th. So it's like
what weighs out then? What weighs out? Because on one hand, I'm like, okay, well, this means that Alabama's going to win, and the reason being is because I look back to that Alabama-Missouri game where Missouri was like a top defense. Right now, Missouri scored 110 points against them.
Yeah.
But Missouri being a team, I think they were only giving up like 68 or 70-some points a game, give up 94, 90, 96 points against Alabama. So I almost, if that's what's happening, and Alabama's offense is just that damn strong against top defenses, then I got to go to Alabama here.
I too am on Alabama here because I think they're going to win their way back up into a top 5 spot, and they're not out of a 1 seed yet.
Right. All right.
Great matchup. Ziegler Sears. That's going to be a great little guard to guard matchup.
That'll be a good one. All right. Next. Love this. Love this for our board. 4:00 game. Yeah. Purdue, Fort Wayne, and Cleveland State.
Whew. Both 19-10.
Yep.
Overall record. Two teams that we often in the past and present wager on.
You mean both 19-10 in the conference?
No, 19-10 overall record.
Overall, I'm sorry.
Yeah, overall record. Cleveland State they're struggling. Their best 10 here. They were on a hot streak for a while, but they've hit a little snide. They're 6-4 in their last 10. They do score the ball. You pointed that out. Whereas, Purdue Fort Wayne, not quite the Purdue Fort Wayne of years past, in my opinion. Nope. But they're also 6-4. In this case, in terms of offensively, Purdue Fort Wayne averages more points at about 82.2 a game. But I think I am going home court advantage will matter. So I am going to take Cleveland State to hold on to this win.
Yep, took the words right from me because Cleveland State's 12-4 at home, and Purdue Fort Wayne on the road is 6-8. So I think it is going to be a battle, but I think Cleveland State comes out on top in this one.
Yeah, great little mid-major matchup there.
Yeah, it is a good matchup. Those two teams are tough. I know we like to both bet on them a lot. Okay, Now we got a 4:30 game here. We got Creighton at Xavier. It's a pretty good matchup here.
Yeah, I like this one too. I think Xavier is sneaky good. Like they're under the radar. I know they're not ranked. I know they're yes, 10 losses, fifth in the Big East, but 7-3 in their last 10 games. Um, once again,
Well,
I'd
four
love to
game
know
wins streak too.
what is their what's their home record there? Because they are typically really tough at home. Typically.
So this is Xavier at home is 13-2.
Yeah.
And
So
then
that's
Creighton on the road is 5-4. So I mean that in itself. Yeesh.
yeah.
I mean, here's the thing though. Creighton's a team I feel like they have snuck in the top 25 a couple times, right?
Yeah.
And if I was in the beginning of the season, I was I think I might even pick Creighton to win the Big East.
Yeah.
They're a team that I don't know. I mean, I know they're 19-8 overall, but I feel like they've underperformed a little bit this year.
Yeah.
So
Kalkbrenner, I think for them to really truly make like some noise moving forward, I do think they're going to be in the tournament, Creighton,
mhm.
but Kalkbrenner has to put up ungodly numbers.
Yeah.
Um, and their little guard Ashworth, I love those two together. Very fun, but in this case, I gotta go with Xavier at home, pulling this one
Here,
off. I think it's a
here's
big win for them.
a question for you. All right, just
Yeah,
looking at this, and this is completely aside. If you think Creighton will get in, that leaves the possibility that 5 Big East teams get in. That would be St. John's, Creighton, Marquette, UConn, and then Xavier possibly.
yeah, I could see that happening.
Although I don't know, Xavier's 18-10 overall.
I think Xavier could sneak in. I think they could steal. I could see Xavier getting like one of those play-in games.
That's true. Wow. So there's even a possibility that Big East has more teams than the ACC.
I think they do. They do no matter what.
It's crazy.
I think they
All
absolutely
right.
do.
So we're both on Xavier here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it is going to be a close game though. All right. Next we got the 6 o'clock game here. We got number 14 Missouri against Vanderbilt. This is
I
in Vanderbilt.
I got Vanderbilt in this one. I really do. Vanderbilt is another team that is. I know you're a Missouri guy, but Vanderbilt has played some really tough teams as of late. Like they played them pretty well. They did not play. I should say they did not play Kentucky very well at Kentucky, but knocked off Ole Miss, uh, and then they also. Hold on, I think I just went to the wrong spot there. Yeah, they knocked off Ole Miss. They were up big on Tennessee and allowed Tennessee to come back and steal one from them on the road at Tennessee. But I think Vanderbilt, we talk about them quite often. They're not a bad team. That is the former JMU coach. That's the head coach there. So he brought some guys with him. One of them being Vernon Carey's brother, younger brother, who played at Duke. So I think Vanderbilt with the upset.
I mean, it's not a bad pick. I mean, this is definitely a must win for Vanderbilt if we want to talk about teams that are on the outside looking in. If Vanderbilt wants in, they need to win this game, hands down.
Yeah,
I mean, when you want to look at home
home
court
field.
advantage, Vanderbilt sits at 13-2 at home. And then you got Missouri that really struggles at home. I mean, Missouri, when they're home, they're 18-1. But when they're on the road, they're 3-5.
Yeah,
And this is kind of one of those trap games where I could see a lot of people like, oh, why would you not take Missouri? Kind of like last night, oh, Florida. Why would you not take Florida? And then Georgia shows up, up by 26 at one point in the game. It's like I could see something like that happening here. I'm not going to pick the upset. With all that being said, I think that Missouri.
Todd, what's your shirt say?
Yeah, I know. Trust me, I know. I'm gonna go Missouri to win a close one.
Okay.
I think this would be one where Vanderbilt, leads, and I think that Missouri somehow pulls it out near the end. So, as long as it's not too big of a lead, because Missouri does not come back from big loss or from big deficits. So we'll see. Okay, next we got the 7 o'clock game here that we're going to talk about is Florida State at number 2 Duke Blue Devils.
Don't overthink it, and I'm starting to wish I wasn't so weird about betting on Duke. But don't overthink it, and don't fear the big spread. I Duke just Florida State's down, man. I think they're done.
Mm-hmm.
They might have lost one of the best players against Carolina, I believe, last game. So I got Duke to win this.
It's funny you mentioned like the big spreads and stuff. That's actually kind of been kind of a strategy for me trying to, I don't know, walk through college basketball gambling this year, is because usually I'm always like, oh, take the dogs, take the over. And it's gotten to the point now where, because of so many trap lines and everything else, where it's like, like I said, took Missouri minus 10.5 against South Carolina. Is that a big spread? It's not huge, but at the same time, it's bigger than I'd, like to take. So yeah, I mean, where I do get really nervous, especially in the big teams, is like ACC play, SEC, like, oh, minus 22, minus 19.5. Like, that's where I do get nervous. But like, if you're going to talk about like some of these smaller schools, oh yeah, let's take this, let's take that. I don't know.
Duke's spread was 23.5 last night.
Was it
23.5?
What did they end up finishing? What was that final score?
I think they ended up winning by like 30 something, 33. They were up 40 some points at one point. They almost went up 50 on Miami. Miami's bad, dude. I'm telling you, Miami's bad. Like, Duke's good, but Miami's worse than Duke is good, I think.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They won 97-60, so they won by 37.
Oh, 37. I thought it was 33. Oh.
Yep. So, all right. So, yeah, we're both on Duke.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, we got Undercover Buzz and Texas A&M taking on, number 12, Texas A&M taking on number 3, Florida at 8:30. It kind of seems like a must win for these teams. Not because of the tournament. I just feel like they both need this win.
Well, Florida's 9-1 now in their last 10. I believe that's with the loss to Georgia last night. They might be 9-2, but they were before the loss to Georgia on a 6-game win streak. I think A&M are frauds. I think Buzz Williams is a fraud, basically because he didn't acknowledge it at Applebee's, but in coaching, because one thing about him, I don't know if we ever talk about. Do you ever notice like he does always get like teams to be like super competitive, highly ranked, not winning any national championship, but then he leaves.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he left Marquette. He had Virginia Tech doing pretty good. Left Virginia Tech. Now he's at Texas A&M, and I think Florida wins easily.
Is that your next Florida State coach, Trent?
I don't think he'll come back to the ACC. I think he likes to keep changing conferences. I think his next stop has to be the Big 12. I think he just wants to go to all the major power conferences.
So they lost their last two, meaning Texas A&M. They lost to Mississippi State pretty handedly by 16 points, and they lost to Tennessee by 8. So their next matchup is tonight against Vanderbilt again, which Vanderbilt's kind of playing with their backs into a corner kind of thing. So I don't know. I could see A&M winning that game, but then I could see them dropping to Florida, just because I also feel like playing in Florida is tough, and Florida being 13-1 at home, it's pretty tough. A&M is not. They're 4-4 on the road. So, but to lose, let's put that in perspective. So let's say A&M beats Vanderbilt and then loses to Florida. All right, that'd be 3 of their last 4. And then on March 4th, on Tuesday, they play Auburn.
Ooh.
So talk about a gauntlet here coming down the stretch where you could lose 4 of your last 5. And then honestly, they close with LSU on Saturday the 8th. I mean, that's not an easy game to close out with, But you could see A&M go all the way from 12 to drop out. within
Yeah.
3 days. So
Wow.
it's definitely a must win for them against Florida for sure. But yeah, I'm going to go with the Gators here. I think Florida, I don't know. I know you said they're frauds. I don't think they're frauds. I think
I should
I think they're
should
tough.
backtrack. I should backtrack. What I don't think they are is I don't think they are a caliber. I know they beat Auburn, but I don't think they're as elite as we think they are.
Okay.
I think
That's fair.
they're more vulnerable than we think.
That's fair. All right, and then the last game we got here on the board, your 9 o'clock game at night. We got number 22 Arizona at number 9 Iowa State. Which again,
Yeah.
some of these rankings are obviously going to change.
Screw Iowa State. Yeah, that's full of recency bias based on last night. 6-4 in their last 10. Okay, 6-4. Are they on a? Yeah, Iowa
2 game
State
losing streak.
2-game losing streak. I know there are some injuries that they're dealing with, but still, once again, like I thought they hung with Houston for the majority of that game. Even down a couple men, but like to lose to Oklahoma State, I'm sorry, but Iowa State fraud, Arizona sleeper. They're dangerous. They got screwed. Oh, they got screwed with that call against BYU this past weekend, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I'm going Arizona on the road, big time win.
Arizona's 6-3 on the road, so they're not terrible on the road when you really look at it. Iowa State is 14-1. Yeah, man. Like I said, beginning of the season, I was a big Iowa State fan just because I really like their coach, but like they're frustrating as shit to watch. I mean, 21-7 overall. I think Arizona's one of those teams right now. I feel like they're coming in their own a little bit, which is a good thing for them. Looking at overall record 18-9, 12-5 in the Big 12 conference, but they're sitting third right now behind Houston and Texas Tech. So they're actually ahead of Iowa State in conference. So that's something to kind of just keep an eye on. But I'm on board with you, Trent, because there's been too many times this year where I picked Iowa State. Well, come on, it's Iowa State. They should win. And against Arizona this year, where I'm like, oh, it's Arizona. They're okay. So I'm going to reverse my thinking here and go Arizona.
Yes, so. Good call. Good call.
All right. Anything else?
Just make sure on Saturday you really enjoy this close to last. I believe it's second to last.
Yeah.
Second to last marathon Saturday, meaning with over like 140 some college basketball games. And we're under what is it? I think we're under 20. We're under 20 days now for Selection Sunday.
It's getting close to 2 weeks. I think this weekend will be 2 weeks.
Yeah. So championship week is 2 weeks away.
Yeah. I'm pretty excited for that.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie.
So.
Hey, and we are next week. Quick teaser. We're going to be doing a collaboration episode with the College Juice podcast with Kevin and Steve. Fast Breaks and Heels will be on our podcast episode next week. That'll be out next Thursday morning at some point, and we're going to have that on both of our platforms. They're going to have it on theirs. We'll have it on ours. So be sure to check that out. Talk a ton of college basketball. We'll get into some stuff, talk some games, some predictions, some championship week stuff. So that's something to look forward to next week. But other than that, happy hump day, happy Wednesday. Enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend.
Yeah. Thank you for listening, guys. Appreciate you.
All right. Hey, like and subscribe. Check us out.
Boom.